Of order, Darren Hughes.
Mr. Speaker, point of order. The Minister, when he was speaking, referred to documents that are prepared for him to speak in the House, and I'd invite him to table the documents.
The member knows he can't do that.
Well, he said he was referring to documents.
No, the member knows he can't do that. Dr. Kennedy-Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This House is anticipating government legislation soon over regional governance in Canterbury. It arises from the ongoing tension that exists there over the vexed issue of water. Canterbury's water has become the bellwether for the current political debate in New Zealand. This is between two alternative philosophies embraced by different sections of the New Zealand public and also in this House. The first postulates economic growth as the paramount value. Yet in the primal mists of the political jungle, this government has an instinctive awareness that not all is right with the environment. It intuits that the people also are concerned. So it utters soothing noises to assuage the masses. We shall balance our economic opportunities with our environmental responsibilities. And we have a subgroup, the Blue-Greens, to salve your conscience. The Prime Minister himself is a member, so nothing to worry about. The second philosophy embraces sustainable development. The economy is forever subordinate to the environment, whether humans choose to acknowledge it or not. These alternative worldviews play out before our eyes over Canterbury water. The growth mania is at its height in Canterbury today, which comprises almost a quarter of New Zealand's farmland. Dairy fever has hit its peak in my province, growing by 61% in 6 years, almost half the national increase. This is in a region whose natural climate is dry. But not to worry, human technology has freed us from nature's primitive grasp, so the thirst for irrigation is unquestionable. Canterbury accounts for 70% of this nation's irrigation, yet the dairy industry wants more. So the developers urge ECAN to grant consents, and ECAN responds with untrammelled accuracy that their job is to protect the environment. This enrages the developers, who conspire with the local authorities to instigate a ministerial review. This is conducted with great solemnity, involving a former Deputy Prime Minister as the chief independent reviewer. It is delivered with the sonorous tones of analytical dispassion and professional insight. The independent reviewers themselves assemble in the Minister's room to brief MPs, an odd procedural arrangement in itself, but who's counting around here? The Creech report recommends the replacement of the ECAN Council with a temporary commission and a semi-permanent water authority, both appointed and answerable to central government. Through a carefully calibrated form of tough love, local democracy is throttled and dies. In fact, the Creech report is a shoddy piece of work, failing rudimentary tests of professional standards. First, the report lacks intellectual integrity. It criticises ECAN for being science-driven and not science-informed. The Creech report is politically driven and not politically informed. If it were politically informed, it would acknowledge that democracy is bigger than business, that the subsidiarity principle is bigger than government, and that you don't replace elected councillors with appointees of central government just because they are making decisions you may not like. That is political arrogance of the highest order. Second, it purports to be an organisational review, but it sets no clear criteria for judging institutional efficiency that allows for contestable judgment. It cites a selective range of what it calls external opinion. I could assemble a selected range of external opinion that would say the opposite. It would have equal claim to partial truth. Third, the report rests its views on what it calls the enormous and unprecedented gap between ECAN's responsibility and capability. But while it makes a great play of advancing three options, it fails to include the obvious one, that is, to give ECAN the resources to do the job. That would retain local democracy and meet the government's stated concerns. But of course it does not include that option. To do so would not meet its underlying purpose. Fourth, the report is a shameless exercise in prejudgment. Its starting premise is also its conclusion. The report seeks to identify what it describes in its terms of reference as ECAN's poor performance record. It then concludes, 67 pages later, that ECAN's performance has been poor and that it needs to be replaced. A brilliant exercise in circular logic that would fail a Level 1 101 test. Mr. Speaker, this crisis is not over Canterbury Water, though Canterbury Water is in crisis. This crisis is over a particular worldview that is driven by a central government arrogance. The Creech report is part of a juggernaut that is gathering speed in Wellington, from local democracy to centralised corporatism, from Environment Canterbury to New Zealand Incorporated. The key government is making the fatal mistake that humans can balance the economy with the environment. You cannot do that. The economy is a subset, a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment. If you ravage the environment, you destroy the economy and human society with it. Mr. Prime Minister, give us back our province and retain your integrity as a national leader.
Honourable Kate Wilkins.